Thomas Wake movement on the road. I hate watching people's videos on the road and wearing glasses, so I'm going to make eye contact with you while I'm at a light. And now we're off to the races. I have a hard time standing still and making videos. And I don't want to have to sit down and do a video for the Will Smith slapping of Chris Rock. Now, I said that both of these characters, actors, who fake live for a living. I know some actors that love them, but it's what they do, is they pretend reality. They fool people for a living. April Fool's Day tomorrow. Why? Because the constellation Orion is medium coeli, the center of the heaven when the sun sets during this time of year. The constellation Orion is also known as the Fool. The Fool card in the tarot deck is Orion. That turned into the Joker card, and it is because Orion is going backwards. He's on a wheel. He's on top of the wheel of the zodiac that goes this way, and he's slowly going this way. So you'll see him riding a unicycle on Joker cards in the modern playing deck. Okay, now, this was a total act and ritual, a Masonic ritual that is not so foreign to fraternities, sororities, initiations into the police force, the military, where you go through a series of hazing, where you're forced to do embarrassing things. And that is so that you are initiated into the next step. We do it in baptism, where we don't do it in water. That's a little bit embarrassing. And then often you have to wear their lame-ass t-shirts that they design. I'm sorry. And so, that was an initiation. Will Smith has been documented to visit Jeffrey Epstein and his island on the plane logs. I thought Chris Tucker was registered, but it was, I thought it was Chris Rock, but they have Chris Tucker as registered as on the flight log. So if they'll bring Chris Tucker out there, it's nothing. They'll bring Chris Rock out there. Chris Rock is more popular. Yay, Will Smith popular. Obviously, that was shown to it. So before you get initiated into the what? The next group. The group of people who have won Oscars. Oscar is a word for Osiris. It all comes back full circle. And Osiris is the Orion constellation. The Orion constellation, that asterism, we get a lot of astral myth from, and we always attach it to someone. He's always got a staff. Osiris, Moses leading out the people out from the Egypt, which is the west to them in Mesopotamia, just as out of the east to the west. The east is Egypt, or really they talk about it as the south. Southeast is Egypt to Mesopotamia, where Babylonia, Sumeria, the Chaldeans is where we get the astrological names for lots of our astrology comes from them. Okay, and a mixture of Egyptian. And so you'll see that astral myth in the Hebrew scriptures, because guess what? They come from Babylon, Cana. It's a sect of, just go look into the ancient Babylonian religion. Baal worship. Baal means master in Judaism, or Lord, El. The god El of Sumeria. The god Yahweh came over, I think from Jove, maybe from Persia. I don't know. But what I do know is that they worship the old gods in their cult. Oh, look, Masonry has Egyptian stuff all in it. Even though it's based on a Hebrew Jewish story, Harima Biff was a Gentile worker for the temple of Solomon. Solomon and the Israelites weren't building the temple. Why? Because on the seventh day, on the Sabbath day, they rest and they let a goy do their work for them. A goy is the goyim, is the nations, is the Gentiles. And ultimately, as we step into the seventh age, which is what we're stepping into now, the age of Aquarius, ruled by Saturn, the seventh planet away, the seventh heaven is ruled by Saturn, who is both Satan and Jesus and Joseph. Set, who is also the god Set, where the temple of Set, they associate with Satan, Saturn. What they're tapping into is actually the more Capricornian side of Saturn, with the horns and the goat and stuff. And the pyramid, the triangle is a symbol for fire and air, the masculine element. Pyramid pyre means fire. Temple of fire for initiations is what. So this Mesopotamian cult to Baal, Asherah, which got turned into Shekinah, who is the feminine aspect, who they say is the people of Israel. The woman is the church, mother church, because that's earth and water, the feminine elements. The upside down triangle, the chalice, the V. Venus, together with the P. So what else? That's why. And then when I go into how there's Masonry in Hollywood, specifically this one called the Illuminati, the Bavarian Illuminati, started by Adam Weishaupt, Jesuit ties, I think a former Jesuit, recruited by one of the Rothschilds, who was a major power coming out of the Austro-Hungarian German Empire, which was Roman Catholic, like the Roman Empire. It was big. They took up all that. So there's an example of this Rothschild influence and power in the Catholic Church, and how they have been in charge of the church's money for a while. So then who's got control? The whole Jesuit thing, becoming a pope, being a Jesuit, is the Jesuits have been known for having crypto Setians. It's a sect that came out of Judaism, specifically Hasidism. Hasidic Judaism is more orthodox. They take on the Kabbalah mysticism. It grew out of Ukraine. Funny how they're in the news. I think 1100s. And then the leader, Sabbatai Zevi, or Levi, was a Setian, a dark Kabbalist of the left-hand path. Whenever you see the pictures of the Masons putting one hand into their coat, the hidden left-hand path, because on the Kabbalistic tree of life, the left-hand path is the dark feminine path. So that means you worship the goddess, which is actually smart. If you want to bring things into manifestation, you're going to want to invoke the elements of earth and water. But what they do is they don't venerate the goddess and sacrifice to her. Like, when I say sacrifice, hopefully we're not killing animals and stuff. Sacrifice a selfish, unhealthy, ego, short-lived pleasure for God. Work towards the common good of humanity. there's a sacrifice of your time and energy. Time, the most precious thing we have. Saturn rules time, Father Time, Chronos, in charge of chronological events. So, you're going to want, that's the most highest god. That's El, which is why on Saturn's day, Saturday, they have the holy worship. Black is his color because he's the furthest out planet, the least bright, the outcast, casted out into the desert, the god of the desert, Set. As time, space would be Rhea, area, Earth, Rhea, space, and time, Chronos, got together, had a child called Kriya. Kriya from creation. Anyways, I know, I'm so goddamn fucking smart. I study incessantly. I'm not even sure if that's a word. My vocabulary sucks. I can't even complete a full freaking sentence to try to sit down and write anything. I have such a hard time organizing. Well, this is a good time when Saturn in Aquarius is organizing thoughts for creating new systems. Well, considering that ain't us creating our systems because we're too chicken shit to gather and do anything ourselves, because we get fear pumped into us constantly, so I can't even blame us to break out of this Saturn matrix. They stick us in the cube of Saturn. The cube is a Saturn symbology. The six-pointed star is, put the sides on it and you have a hexagonal figure. We got hexed into this freaking place through X. S. Dog, our letters are magical symbols by the way that they form. The S is always the serpent on the staff. The serpent is a feminine, has curves. Like the moon has curves. On the staff is the phallic, the penis. The dollar bill sign is a symbol for Isis and Osiris. And the crucifixion of Jesus on the cross. In Kabbalah, they have, in the Talmud, they have referred to Jesus as Samael, the guardian angel of the Gentiles, who is Satan, the adversary. Satan. They sacrificed the goat. It's a Passover blood magic ritual. They take two goats, Jesus and Barabbas. They set one free, Barabbas, son of Abbas, the father, son of the father. They take one, and then they put their sins onto the other one and sacrifice it to who? To Azazel, who is Samael, who is Satan, the god of the desert. They put the goat out there, resembling them, Israel, putting their sins on a Gentile offering, and then they're cleansed of their sins. And that's repeated every day in the Catholic Church and Orthodox Church. May his blood be upon us and our children. That's them accepting the blood sacrifice atonement ritual of Jesus in this fabricated myth that's been given to us to brain F us into abandoning our ancestral gods, and especially the goddess, and worshiping the God of Israel. My ancestors aren't from Israel, and I don't want a part of that. Now, even in all traditions, we have perhaps practices that seem uncouth to the modern person. But you also have to remember that everybody who does a historical write-up on another people are doing it to badmouth them, obviously. Think about today. A letter written about Russia coming from the American media is going to sound different than a writing about Russia coming from the Russian media. There's a reason why the scripture just got handed down to us. And the real true stuff on the history of the Celts, much of it burnt. Ironically, or fortuitously, the monasteries and the monks in Ireland were able to keep alive some of the workings that came out of libraries such as Alexandria and the other one that kept alive the works of Plato, or the teachings of Pythagoras. I'm sure the teachings of Pythagoras are so important to knowing. Like the Muslims venerate him, and he's heavily used in Kabbalism. Learning Platonism and Neoplatonism really is a big part of what Kabbalah is. Lurianic Kabbalah, which is the most popular form, which is so hateful towards it associates the Gentiles with the Kelipot or the Kliptof of the tree of life of the Kabbalah, which is the shells or the shards left over from God's emanation into creation, and those have to be eliminated to bring back the spark to the source. Or you do the left-hand path and you decide that you don't want to fully disintegrate, unify with the Godhead of this light that floats on the abyss of darkness, and they instead look to assimilate or morph into the darkness, which is the feminine, which is the abyss that existed before the light, and then create your own light and become your own God. That's what Kabbalah is, and that's what Masonry is, and Masonry is Kabbalah for the Goy, because you're ultimately serving their, well, at lower levels, you're serving their God Yahweh, which is the God of Israel, not the God of the Gentiles. Listen to how the God in the Bible speaks about the Gentiles. And that's you, probably, unless you happen to descend from like modern day Palestine. Free Palestine, wake movement out.